Hey guys, it's your girl Cindy and I'm back again with another video. I trust you guys are doing well today. If you are coming across this channel for the first time, hi! Thank you so much for clicking to watch this video. Guys, I don't know why I'm seeing the pictures and videos of Republican State Rep Kat Cammack on my For You page. Because people are dragging her. So what did she do? So people are calling her out. People are dragging her because of what she did. Now we are going to see these clips that I've put together. And while we are watching these videos, I want you to please remember Adriana Smith and other women who must have gone through this. Stay with me, guys. I just want us to have this conversation today because TikTok is on fire. They are dragging her. I don't know what she did. We are going to find out from these videos. Stay with me, guys. If you haven't subscribed to this channel, do so because I'm going to bring you viral videos from TikTok. Check these videos out.
This is Republican State Rep Kat Cammack, and last year she was pregnant, and then she got some devastating news. She found out that she had an ectopic pregnancy, and not only was she at risk to lose the ability to have children in the future, she was also at risk of dying. Good news is there are steps that could be taken. There's drugs she could take that would end that already not viable pregnancy and spare her life. And so, of course, she expected that to happen. The only problem is she's in Florida and the 6-week abortion ban had just taken effect. And doctors were like, I don't know if we can do that. I'm not sure with this new law in place. If we can do that, I don't want to lose my license or go to jail. And she sprang into action. No, that can't happen to you. I was a supporter of this bill. I know what's in it. See, I'm good to go. You can do it to me. And they're like, I don't know. I got to look into it. And then she even went as far as to call the governor's office late at night, but no one picked up because it was the middle of the night. Fortunately, within a few hours, doctors made the decision to go ahead and administer and take the risk, and her life and her fertility were spared. But that had to be a scary experience. This is something that we've been concerned about women all across the country with bans like this having to deal with. So obviously, when this happened to her, and she did this interview in the Wall Street Journal, obviously she talked about her personal experience and how these laws can create issues and put women's lives at risk, right? Wrong. That's not what she did. What she did instead was not fault the Florida law for her experience. Instead, she accuses the left of scaring medical professionals with messaging. And that's why this happened. Because of the left. The left caused that. The left didn't scare those doctors. Your poorly written bill did. Okay? Attorneys got on the internet and started talking and saying, hey, I looked at this bill, and if I'm representing a doctor and this doctor contacts me and says, how much exposure do I have with this? I say the problem is that it says some things are okay and some things aren't, but it's not real clear on the language. It doesn't define it well. So if we're just talking about limiting your risk as much as possible, I'd say don't do any of the procedures. That's the advice that attorneys were being forced to give their clientele who are medical professionals. Like, if they feel like railroading you and going after you, it feels like they kind of could with this. But even with that set aside, can we talk about one more element of this that Kat is failing to acknowledge? Her level of privilege in that situation. Okay, she was able to confidently tell these doctors, you're not going to get in trouble. I'm a state representative. Like, I got your back. I was a part of this. I understand. She was able to pull it up and look at it and start talking about it line by line. I don't know if the average woman going through that would think to do that or would even be listened to when they tried to do that. And then she called the governor's office. I mean, that's a nice move to have. If she had waited till morning, someone would have been there to answer. The average woman experiencing this can't just call the governor's office. She got to live. She got to move on, get pregnant again, and have a child. A luxury that isn't afforded all of the women who have a similar experience to hers. And instead of acknowledging that and saying, let me work to make that better, let me at least work to change the language to make it clearer so doctors don't have to worry, she just blames the left. There are women who have literally died because of laws like this in states around the country. And all she can do, instead of standing up for women and being like, this was a terrible experience, I have to make sure no one experiences this, she's just going to toe the company line like a good little soldier.
Wow. Okay. So the law doesn't apply to everyone. It doesn't. Now, y'all remember Adriana Smith, because I said, while we are watching these videos, let's remember Adriana Smith. I did a follow-up video of Adriana Smith, and the first video that I did, some people came for me in the comment section, but it's okay. I welcome all perspectives. Trust me, okay? That's fine. We are all here to learn. We are all here to agree and disagree. But that is a privilege there. And now I know why people are dragging her. Ma'am, they passed a law. They literally passed a law. So I do not know why this is coming up. Y'all supported this. Y'all voted for this. Y'all are happy that this law has come into existence. People are mad on TikTok. Like, TikTok is on fire. People are making videos and people are asking her to step down. I don't know. Like, I don't know what to say. I'm reacting to this because it is going viral and for you all to know what is happening. Stay with me, guys. I have other videos coming. Please correct me in the comment section if I'm wrong. I don't mind. That's fine. Check these videos out.
I just found out today that a Republican representative just had an abortion. Republican MAGA representative Cammack, I think, was pregnant, except her baby turned ectopic. So she had to get rid of it. She had to get an abortion or else she would die as well. There was no saving the baby. And so, like any normal woman, you go to the hospital, get help, you make the difficult decision to be like, you really got to sit with it. And it's like, well, there's nothing I can do. This pregnancy is over. And so it's really down to, do I want to save my own life or do I also want to die with this baby? Most women will choose to save their own life. So it seems like a done deal. Except she was one of the front runners of banning post 6 week abortion in Florida. And so for the longest time, they were refusing her care. So she was basically dying because of her own bill that she was passing. Like, don't get me wrong, as a woman, I can never fully just make a joke about that and not feel some type of way about it. But, like, you cannot make this up. Like, honestly, I feel like I should make a series about Republican hypocrisy because there's just so much every single day. Luckily, there's a silver lining. There's a happy ending. You know, she was able to get the care she needs. She's not dead right now. Because, I mean, I'm a Christian. I don't wish death on anybody for real. But now she's blaming the left. Said it's leftist fear-mongering. That did what? Leftist fear-mongering that made getting you the care that you needed illegal? Can somebody arrest her? Because I think she just got an abortion, which is illegal in Florida.
This is deceased mother of two, Adriana Smith, who went into her local emergency room because she had a headache that she could not get rid of, and was sent back home only the following day to be diagnosed with a brain aneurysm, which led to a brain bleed and her death. She is survived by two children, her son that she previously had, and the baby that she was made to carry while kept alive on life support due to Georgia's one heartbeat rule. At the time of her death, she was less than the amount of months that previously you were allowed to get a legal abortion. This is Cammack, 37-year-old Republican Congresswoman from Florida. She was diagnosed as having an ectopic pregnancy. People at the facility were afraid to provide her with the medication that would invoke an actual abortion due to Florida's non-abortion laws. She has not given birth. She is no longer pregnant. Because what did she do? She went up the food chain to the governor for the governor to okay her having an abortion. She's alive and well. Healthcare providers in Georgia allowed Miss Adrian Smith to be kept alive on life support after being brain dead and forced her unborn child to suffer until they felt as if they were at a point where the child could survive without any of the natural things that occurred in a woman's body with the child being attached to them. They ran a medical experiment on Miss Adriana Smith in order to make a point under the guise of that they're following the law. She's gone. Cammack is still alive. Even though her pregnancy was only life-threatening to her. Only life-threatening to her. In the case of Miss Adriana Smith, both of them would have died had she not been kept on life support. Miss Cammack here wasn't made to experience any of that in order to preserve the child, because her life was more important. The fucking hypocrisy. But I just wanted to make sure that y'all could see this, that people recognize this, that people heard about this. This is what so-called anti-abortion laws really are. It's another way to have some sense of control. Nothing more, nothing less. And control over the bodies of others. And when there's privilege involved, the rules are never going to be enforced the same.
Republican Representative Kat Cammack needed an abortion, so she had one. She got one. You want to know how she got one? She called the governor's office. Because the medical professionals in Florida know that the 6-week total abortion ban is in place, and they didn't know what to do. So she called the governor's office, and the governor's office told those healthcare providers, it's totally okay, give her an abortion, you're not going to lose your license, you're not going to lose anything, you're not going to lose your jobs, give her the abortion that she needs to save her life. So if you're super privileged, then you can get an abortion that's going to be life-saving. You can have access to health care that's necessary for women. This happens all the time, by the way. Miscarriages, hemorrhaging, ectopic pregnancies, all reasons to need an abortion for a health care reason to save somebody's life. But unless you're privileged and you can call the governor's office, there might be a murky gray area that might be causing confusion where your provider can't just make that determination based off their expertise and knowledge and their medical license. A Republican needed an abortion, so she got one, while actively voting against other women's rights to their health care.
Hypocrite aligns herself with and espouses anti-abortion politics, votes for anti-abortion policies, then goes out and seeks an abortion, getting one using her connections and resources when she is in need of an abortion. Nothing to see here. This is a tale as old as time, okay? This is just how it works for a lot of these people who are anti-abortion, anti-whatever, until they are in need or it benefits them, and then they use their connections, their money, their resources to seek out whatever it is they have banned or worked against when it suits their needs. What I am particularly interested in is how this is going to play out for her constituents and the people who voted for her when it is time for her to be reelected in the event she runs for office again. Because it's very easy to see what her play is. You know, she's blaming the left for their hysteria and their fear-mongering and their refusal to, or the ER's initial hesitancy to treat her, again, based on the laws in which she voted into place, because these are the politics and the policies she supported. So she turns it around on the staff at the ER, the confusion and the chaos as a result of the legislation, mind you, that she voted for and supported, saying that it was fear-mongering at worst, because of the lack of clarity. And now that the clarity is there after the fact, and they have ruled that the service that she received is not an abortion, now she can turn around and say she did not receive an abortion, because now in hindsight the language was clarified. However, at the time she received the abortion that she did, because she's trying to get out of this loophole of calling it what it was. At the time she received this abortion, the abortion that saved her life, even though she's not trying to call it that, that's exactly what she received, an abortion that saved her life, that made it so she was able to get pregnant again, and she is due again in August. Congratulations to her, wishing her a healthy delivery. However, just like I said, what I am really interested in seeing, I don't care about her hypocrisy. We know these people are hypocrites. What I care about is how people are going to respond to said hypocrisy.
A Republican congresswoman had an ectopic pregnancy, couldn't get medical care for it because the medical care for an ectopic pregnancy is actually an abortion, and now is blaming the left. Let's talk about it. Cammack, who is a Republican congresswoman from Florida, was pregnant in May 2024. She went to the ER where they found that she was 5 weeks pregnant with an ectopic pregnancy, which is non-viable. There was no heartbeat, and her life was at risk. At the hospital, doctors determined that she needed a shot of methotrexate to help expel the pregnancy, terminate the pregnancy. But since Florida's 6-week abortion ban had just gone into effect, they were worried that they would lose their medical licenses if they gave her that medication. The 6-week abortion ban that Cammack herself supported. The doctors, understandably, did not want to lose their licenses or go to jail given the new law. And because it had just gone into effect weeks earlier, they didn't really know what they could and couldn't do, which has happened all over the country. Because the thing is, giving her this medication would be providing an abortion. Whether you want to call it that or not, medically, the termination of a pregnancy is an abortion. She ended up getting the medication a few hours later, but now she's blaming the left for the way she was treated at the hospital. You literally cannot make this shit up. She's claiming that like fear mongering around the abortion bans is what made it so that the doctors were too worried about their licenses to provide care. Clearly, it couldn't be the fault of the abortion bans themselves. No, it's the fear-mongering about the abortion bans that scared the doctors. Republicans constantly make laws that harm other people's lives, and then they get mad about it when it affects themselves. But obviously, they can't take accountability, so what do? They blame the left. This is just a perfect example of the insane hypocrisy.
Recently, Republican Congresswoman Cammack has made the news by sharing her story of having an ectopic pregnancy in her state and how she could have died because of legislation that she voted to pass. And it's really made me reflect on my own ectopic pregnancy that I had in a red state where I could have died, and I want to share my experience. Well, I live in Utah, which is a very conservative, very religious state. And because of that, there's a Republican supermajority here. And they had put laws into place that after Roe got overturned, trigger laws went into effect, and there was a near total abortion ban here in the state of Utah. When that happened, I went and got an IUD because while my husband and I knew that we wanted to have kids eventually, we weren't ready to take that step. And so an IUD felt like the safest option. A few months later, I started bleeding. And my husband, who works in healthcare, became concerned, asked me some questions about it, and told me that he really felt like I should go in and talk to my primary care provider. Now, I thought he was overreacting. I thought I was just having breakthrough bleeding as my body adjusted to having an IUD, but he's rarely a worrier, and he was worried. So I made an appointment with my primary care provider. When I was there seeing my primary care provider, they did an ultrasound just to verify that my IUD was in place and ran some routine blood work. She also was not concerned. She assumed that I was just having breakthrough bleeding from my IUD, told me she would call me in a few days with the results, and build a plan for me moving forward to regulate my cycle. So I went back to work, thought nothing of it, and the next day I got a frantic phone call from my doctor informing me that I was indeed pregnant, and that because I had an IUD, there was a more than 90% chance that pregnancy was ectopic, which is a life-threatening complication where a pregnancy implants outside of the uterus. As she told me that news, it really felt like my soul left my body, and I was immediately sobbing on the phone and just telling her over and over again, but I live in Utah, but I live in Utah. And she knew what I meant. I was saying, I live in Utah, I don't know if I can get healthcare. Am I gonna die? Basically. So I called my husband, I told him what was happening, and I immediately left work and drove to the doctor's office as quickly as possible. When I arrived, my doctor told me that she had already been in conversations with other doctors at the hospital and pharmacists trying to see what my options were. But essentially, because we were in Utah and because these trigger laws were in effect, doctors and pharmacists were so afraid of losing their license that they couldn't even get the medication required for a medical abortion into the state of Utah at all. And I would just like to emphasize that 0% of ectopic pregnancies end with a healthy baby. It is a life-threatening complication for women who undergo this. Everyone knew that. And yet, even though there was a more than 90% chance that this pregnancy I was experiencing was ectopic, they could not get me the healthcare that I needed because there were not doctors and pharmacists who are willing to provide it. And also, because there was this less than 10% chance that maybe I was pregnant, but it was too early on to see anything, they could not get me the healthcare. And I'll never forget my doctor, through tears, telling me, do not be further than 15 minutes from a trauma center because your fallopian tube could burst and you will die. That was the healthcare that I was provided in this state. That was the best option that my doctor could provide me. She believed in my right to choose. She understood the gravity of the situation, and yet I could not get healthcare in this state. Before anyone tells me, why didn't you just go to a different state? I couldn't, because I couldn't be further than 15 minutes from a trauma center. And every 12 hours, I had to get a blood draw where they checked my HCG levels, that's like the pregnancy hormone, to make sure that it was continuing to go down. Because if it surged at any point, that could mean that my fallopian tube was bursting and I could die. My husband did not sleep for 3 days because he was convinced that if he fell asleep, that I would start bleeding internally and that he would wake up and I would be dead next to him. And I have since been diagnosed with PTSD from this overall experience. Honestly, as someone who grew up in Utah, surrounded by the culture, and who grew up religious and a part of the church, I understand the thought process that people have around abortion. I understand why people are anti-abortion. I really do, because I grew up hearing the arguments and I thought that I believed that way for a really long time. But frankly, until you've been sitting in the office with your doctor in tears telling you you could die from this and I cannot provide you the healthcare, I don't think you really get it. To Kat Cammack, I'm so sorry that you've had this experience too. It really sucks. You're probably gonna end up with lifelong post-traumatic stress from this experience that you had, but you voted for this, okay? You voted for this. And I think that people think that abortion and life-threatening complications from pregnancy and maternal death is something that happens to other people, but it can truly happen to anyone. And I just really need people to understand that when we restrict access to healthcare, it endangers everybody. And we should give a shit about that.
Florida Republican Representative Kat Cammack was able to obtain a life-saving abortion to treat her ectopic pregnancy only because she is a rich, privileged white bitch with a direct line of communication to the governor's office, which she used to her advantage after her providers initially turned her down for her abortion out of fear for losing their license in Florida's strict abortion culture. She had Daddy DeSantis call the hospital and tell them to go ahead with her abortion without fear of reprisal from the state. Meanwhile, the rest of us low-level grunts get to just live with the consequences of her votes by bleeding out in the parking lot like barnyard animals. And now we have to listen to her wax poetic about how the Democrats are to blame for all the fear-mongering surrounding the abortion bills that she voted for. Like the MAGA cult member, hypocrite, gender traitor skank she is. Who said that?
I took some screenshots of comments from one of her videos, recent videos, because people went in her comment section leaving comments there, which I'm going to show you. But I just want to say this. Hear me out. Ma'am, as a woman, I understand, okay? I'm a mother as well. I understand and I feel sorry for you that you were going through that. And the only way out is to do what you did. But then when you were signing and clapping and supporting for that law to be passed, you never thought that you might be in that situation, that you might need that type of care. And other women who were in that situation wanted to have this type of care that you had. they were denied. Just sort yourself out. I'm a Christian, and I personally, I don't care. Whatever you want to do with your life, that is your life. But yeah, as citizens, this law was passed, and we are supposed to abide by the law, the rules. So now my question is, does it mean it doesn't apply to everybody? Because women are angry. Now, coming back to blame the left, coming back to say that you were not treated well, I don't know if that's the highest privilege that I have seen. I don't know. Anyways, you guys, on your screen are some of these comments. You can please pause to read, but I'm going to read out some for you. So this comment says, can someone get the governor on the line and ask how he knew for sure Kate was only 5 weeks and not 6? Was there a divine ultrasound we missed? Because under his own law, 1 week later, she might have just had to. And the next comment says, hi, Kat. I hope all is well. Thank you for fighting for us. And the third comment says, let us not forget about how you disregarded the very thing you voted for as well. You should be ashamed of yourself. How dare you get help when many other women can't get access to when their life depends on it. Yet you make one call and suddenly, it's medically needed. This comment says, you are morally obligated to resign from your office. You do not uphold your oath to this country. You are a disgrace. You do not deserve your position. The next comment says, Cammack used her power to access and why deny millions that right? Hypocrisy isn't leadership. Resign is healthcare. Guys, you can please pause to read the rest of the comments. I just thought to bring these videos here so you guys can see and know what is trending and what is happening. Her pictures are all over TikTok. People are still dragging her. Let me know what you all think in the comment section. I don't know what to say anymore. All I'm saying is, if you say that this is what we all are gonna be doing, like this is the law, then it should apply to everyone. Everyone. Anyways, you guys, thank you so much for watching. Don't forget to like this video, share, comment, and of course, come back for another one. I'm gonna see y'all in my next video. Y'all have a lovely day. Bye.